The meat tastes of ash. Elora chews the sinewy flesh of the steppe bison, her jaw working mechanically. But there is no satisfaction. No strength flows from it. She looks at the child suckling at her breast, his small body listless, his cries thin and weak. Her milk is failing. It is a slow, creeping dread that has settled over the clan, a wasting sickness that has no name and no visible wound. The hunters return from the plains with their shoulders slumped, their legendary stamina leached away by a malady they cannot fight. Wounds that once would have scarred over in days now fester. A profound lethargy hangs in the cold air, thicker than the morning fog. This is a new kind of hunt, one where the prey is inside their own bodies, and all their survival skills are useless. The old man, Kale, does not eat. He sits by the fire, his gaze fixed on the great, snow-dusted peak to the north. His mind, a vessel of their entire hominid history, holds the memory of a time before the sickness. He remembers the taste of meat properly cured, of energy surging back into weary limbs. He remembers the cave. They call it the Grotto of Crystalline Tears, a place where the walls reach alt and the very air invigorates the blood. For generations, it was their sanctuary, the source of their strength. Now, it is a tomb guarded by a god. The memory of their first and only attempt to reclaim it is etched onto the body of Bran, a young hunter who now hobbles with the aid of a crooked staff. They had gone with fire and stone-lipped spears, a dozen strong, only to be met by a roar that seemed to split the mountain itself. The cave bear, an ancient titan of the Pleistocene megafauna, had emerged from the darkness, a locomotive of fur and claw that shattered their courage as easily as it snapped Bran's femur. They fled, leaving behind their best spears and their hope. This is the brutal calculus of prehistoric life. The source of their survival is guarded by a beast they cannot kill. To attack again is suicide. To do nothing is a slower, more certain death. Kale watches the smoke from their fire curl and drift on the wind, a pale ribbon against the grey sky. He observes the young ones, their play lacking its usual vigor. He sees the fear in Elora's eyes. The clan, this small, fragile island of Homo sapiens in a world of giants, is fraying at the edges. They share what little meat they have, a gesture of community that is as instinctual as breathing. But it is not enough. The sickness is a hunger that food alone cannot fill. Kale's gaze returns to the mountain. He is no longer thinking of the strength of their arms or the sharpness of their flint. He is watching the wind. He is mapping the shadows. He is beginning to weigh the cost of courage against the price of cunning. The next day, Kale summons the hunters, not with a call to arms, but with a quiet gesture toward a patch of cleared earth. He kneels, and with a shard of river charcoal, he begins to draw. This is the foundation of their future. An act of anthropology in its most nascent form. His gnarled fingers trace the outline of the mountain, the gaping maw of the main cave entrance. And then, with deliberate precision, a second, smaller mark high on the roof case of fissure. A chimney to the beast's lair that he has watched for weeks. This is his cognitive mapping made real. The fire in his mind given form in the dirt. He scoops up a handful of dust and lets it trickle from his fist, showing them the way the wind sighs down from the high ridges and curls into that hidden vent. Silence. The other hunters, a generation of ancient humans defined by muscle and reflex, stare at the drawing. They see lines in the dirt, not a strategy. It is Bran who speaks, his voice raspy with remembered terror. You want us to face it again. It is a spirit of the rock. It cannot be fought. Kale does not answer him directly. He simply turns his gaze to Elora, who holds her child close. The child does not stir. In that shared glance, a library of unspoken fears and a desperate prayer for survival are exchanged. The choice becomes clear. This is no longer about fighting the bear. It is about fighting the sickness. The clan looks from the drawing on the ground to the fading life in the child's face, and a new, cold resolve settles over them. This is a turning point in their human evolution. The moment they collectively wager their lives not on the strength of their arms, but on the power of an idea. The work begins. It is an operation of quiet, focused industry. For days, they gather not weapons, but fuel for their psychological war. Children and elders collect damp moss and stacks of green, sappy pine boughs. The hunters use their stone tools, the product of practiced moose-tearing technology, not to butcher meat but to strip bark and shape wood. Their flint hand axes, once used for cracking marrow bones, now filter young, wet saplings needed for the plan. They are building a weapon of smoke and suffocation. They move with a shared purpose, a community acting as a single organism, a defining trait of hominid history. Kale directs it all, his mind holding the intricate sequence of events. He divides them into two groups. The Stingers, the three fastest and youngest hunters, will carry torches to the main entrance. Their job is not to fight, but to roar, to make a spectacle, to draw the beast's fury and lead it on a chase across the rocky scree. The second group, the Cokers, led by Kale himself, will haul the massive bundles of green kindling up the treacherous goat path to the fissure above the cave. Theirs is the silent, deadly task. The plan is a testament to the growing complexity of the prehistory mind, a multi-layered strategy of distraction, environmental manipulation, and precise timing, as they make their final preparations under a sky the color of a fresh bruise. The air is not filled with war cries, but with the tense, focused silence of a people about to steal fire from a god. The world narrows to the flickering light of three torches. The Stingers creep toward the cave mouth, their hearts hammering a rhythm of pure dread against their ribs. The stench of the beast, a thick, musky odor of damp fur and old bones, rolls out to meet them, with a shared, guttural scream that is part challenge and part terror. They thrust their torches into the opening, painting the cave walls with dancing, monstrous shadows. A subterranean rumble answers them, a sound that vibrates through the soles of their feet and up their spines. Then, the darkness inside the cave explodes outward. The cave berry erupts into the moonlight, a force of nature given flesh. Its roar a physical blow that staggers the young hunters. For a frozen moment, they stare into the abyss of its rage. Then they turn and run. High above, on the narrow ledge, Kale watches the deadly play unfold. The beast, utterly consumed by the fleeing lights below, thunders after them. Now, he gives the signal. The Cokers work with frantic, silent precision. They shove the dense bundles of green pine and wet moss deep into the fissure. It is a desperate act of primitive technology. Another hunter brings forth an ember, glowing in its clay and moss-lined basket, one of their most vital ancient tools. Kel blows on it gently, coaxing it to life, and touches the flame to the tinder. The fire catches, sputtering at first, then belching a thick, acrid cloud of smoke that is immediately sucked down into the mountain's unseen throat. They feed the pyre, their faces grim in the firelight, their lungs burning with the fumes. The plan is working, but the wind, the clan's capricious ally, shifts. A plume of the choking smoke, having filled the chamber below, now curls back out of the main entrance. The bear, in its pursuit, catches the scent. It stops. Its massive head swings back toward its violated den, confusion warring with its fury. It abandons the chase. It turns, and with a speed that defies its bulk, it charges back up the mountain, directly toward the path where Kale's team is now exposed. There is no time. The path is too narrow, the cliff too sheer. Kale sees the terror in the eyes of the young man beside him. He sees the future of the clan, the children who need this salt in that young man's face. In that instant, a choice is made, a calculation of reciprocal altruism that will echo for generations. Kale shoots the man hard. Go, he croaks, his voice raw from the smoke. Live. He pushes the other two after him, creating a small space on the path. He turns back to face the avalanche of claws and teeth, a lone, frail figure of Homo sapiens against a relic of an older, more brutal world. He holds his torch high. The bear rears up, blotting out the stars, and Kale drives the flame into its face. There is a roar of pain and fury, a swipe of a colossal paw, and then silence. The old man is gone. The clan has the salt. They approach the cave hours later, timidly, finding it empty, fouled with smoke but blessedly silent. And for the first time in months, they feel a flicker of hope. Elora's child will drink deep from his mother, and the milk will be rich again. The hunters will feel strength return to their limbs. They survived this small, fragile flame of humanity, a species whose stories are footnote in the grand, brutal epic of this ancient earth, has outwitted a monster. This is the sort of tale that future archaeology can only guess at through scattered bones and tools. But this is not a story of victory. It is a chronicle of cost. Kayla's sacrifice is now woven into the fabric of their survival. A memory that will be passed down not in words, but in the instinct to protect the young, to trust in the wisdom of elders, and to understand that the well-being of the tribe is paid for with the currency of the self. The bones of our human ancestors lie buried beneath 100,000 such choices. This is the quiet, unglamorous truth at the heart of the great evolution documentary. Our ascent was not a march of heroes. It was a long, slow climb on the shoulders of the forgotten, the selfless, and the brave, who understood that a future they would never see was the only prize worth dying for. Their struggle, which took place a million years ago, is the bedrock of our own. We stand here today because a man once chose to become a shield. We are the legacy of the last one to hold the torch. But the deadliest shadows are not cast by beasts, but by the dawn of a new reflection in a stranger's eyes.